Welcome back to the first section of Connect. And now we want to talk a little bit about the values of our church, what Bayshore is all about, and what the vision of Bayshore is all about. And if you go to page 4, you'll see a section that says Our Values. And we'll fill in the first part right under Our Values. We believe in 4 core values that guide us as we try to connect to God, connect to others, and serve the community. Now, those 3 phrases you'll hear over and over again in the Next Step track, and that is connect to God, connect to others, and serve the community. So that's the core of what we try to do. When we talk about connecting to God, we talk about what happens in our Sunday morning experiences or our services. Over the years of being the lead pastor here at Bayshore, I've had so many people that have come for the first time to Bayshore that haven't been to church in years. And when they come, they just can't explain what they feel. And they sense God's presence, they sense God's love. They don't even know how to articulate what it is. Sometimes we've had people come that one lady told me one time that she hadn't been to church in years, and she started came like 2 or 3 months in a row. And every Sunday she came, she would just cry. Now that doesn't happen to everybody, but she was trying to articulate, I don't know what it is, but I'm feeling God's love and God's grace toward me. So we want to help people to experience God's grace and presence when they come to Bayshore. So here are our values. First of all, the first value is attract. We want to attract people to come to Bayshore. So therefore, we try to have an environment that is inviting to people that normally wouldn't want to come to church. We have really amazing music. We have lights, we have multimedia, and everything we try to do with excellence, because we believe that a person that's coming to Bayshore the first time, they haven't been to church in years, and they already have a predisposition of what they think church is going to be like. They're looking for, some pews, and they're looking for some old worn-out hymns, and they're looking for somebody to stand in front that's trying to lead them in a hymn. And we want to sort of wow them when they come, and we want to do things with excellence. So our team, our staff, works really hard during the week to prepare services that are done with excellence, so when you finally get your uncle and your aunt to come, or your next door neighbor, that you're not ashamed of the church you bring them to, but that you are so grateful that they hear music that's done with excellence, that they hear a message that makes sense, that they're greeted at the door and somebody's glad to see them. We try to do things with excellence because we want to attract people to the Lord. So we have a commitment to be excellent in every area of connection and service. And number 2, under attract, we burn with a drive for excellence to reach the generation God has placed us in. Now, here's what I believe. This is a personal belief that I have. I believe that people that don't know Jesus are intolerant of mediocrity. So when people that don't know Jesus, they come to church, they've been to great concerts, they've been to, to the fair, and they've heard some great band, and they're expecting to come to church and just to see the level of excellence to really, really be under the world. And what I believe that the excellence of the church should transcend the excellence in the world. I believe that our music and our communication and our lighting and our facilities and everything we do should be done with excellence so that we can reach other people. Now, you can write this in, mediocrity may be fine for some, but we will not reach the people who are far from God without excellence. So that's a value we have at Bayshore. Now, when I say excellence, I'm not saying perfection, because some Sundays you'll come and something's going to go wrong with the sound system, something's going to go wrong with the lights, the pastor's mic's not going to work. It just happens because we do this live every Sunday. But every Sunday we seek to do the very best job we can so that we can reach other people for the Lord. And so under this next thing, it says we reach for excellence in our facilities, experiences, and the administration of our church. So Bayshore is driven by doing everything with excellence, to do everything with the best we can do. And there's a verse in the New Testament that says, whatever you do, whether word and deed, do all for the glory of God. I don't know if you know this, but if you've ever been to New York City and you go and you see the Statue of Liberty, the Statue of Liberty is, was a gift to us from the French people. Very beautiful statue, and when you ride by New York Harbor and you see that statue out there, you're just so impressed with that statue. But one of the things a lot of people don't know is the crown of the statue. There's a crown on the Lady of Liberty, and behind her crown is a very intricate design of hair. And if you were flying over and you could look down on the top of her head behind her crown, you would see that the artist that designed, the engineer and artist that designed the Statue of Liberty took great detail to do that with excellence. And so we want to do things with excellence here as well. The next word that's important is connect. And it says simply, we are committed to helping people who are far from God get to know Him through our weekend experiences. So our church is not simply just for church people that have gone to other churches and we have maybe a better church service so they want to come here. Our church service is designed to reach people that don't go to church, that have given up on church, and so we are wanting them to connect with God and have an experience with God. We are committed to helping people who are far from God get to know Him through our weekend services. And under that, we are on a mission to connect others because we realize that God created us with a built-in need to connect with one another in deep and meaningful ways. And so there's two levels of commitment, two levels of connection rather at Bayshore. There's a vertical connection. People need a vertical connection. They need a connection with God. They need to have a relationship with God. They need to experience God. They need to know God's love and God's mercy and God's grace. They need to experience that. So they need a vertical connection. Everybody needs a vertical connection. It was, St. Augustine who said, "My soul is restless. My soul is empty. My soul is restless until it finds its rest in you." Every human being has a God-shaped vacuum inside that only God can fill. And so people that come to Bayshore, we know that they need a connection with God. We want them to have a relationship with God. Secondly, we need a vertical connection. That's first. And then we need a horizontal connection with other people. People that have a solid vertical connection with God and they have solid horizontal connections with other people, with other believers that know Jesus, that's a balanced and whole person. And so that's part of what we do here at Bayshore. If you go to page 5, you can go to page 5. Another key word for Bayshore is the word empower. Empower. One of the things you'll discover about Bayshore is that Bayshore is just not a church where there's a preacher on the stage that does everything and it's all about coming to watch somebody minister. Bayshore is about everybody that's a part of our church recognizing that they have a ministry, that they have something that God has called them to do. I remember one time looking over a little anthill, and you could see the ants kind of going all around the anthill. And I don't know if you've ever, kind of watched some ants that were, running up and down that hill, and they're all moving around. I don't know what the ants are all doing, but they're just doing all kinds of things. And every ant on that anthill is moving and doing something. And you never see an ant. I don't know how many legs an ant has. Maybe you have to ask your facilitator for that. I don't know how many they have. I've forgotten that. But you never see an ant with all their legs folded over, just kind of sitting in a lawn chair. The ants are moving. They're all doing something. And when you look down on a healthy church from God's viewpoint, from God's bird's eye view, a healthy church will look like an anthill. Everybody's sort of moving, and everybody's doing something. Everybody's not doing everything, but everybody's got something that God's called them to do. We have people in our church that their job and their mission and what they love to do is they just love to greet people when they come in on Sunday morning. They love to just welcome people, make them feel good, and give them a big hug, give them a big handshake. We have people in our church that they just love the technical parts of running the sound and the lights. We have people in our church that they love to teach, and they love to teach and lead a home group or a Bayshore group. We have people in our church that they just love to pray for people. So they come up front with Pastor Jeff or one of the other pastors at the other campus, and they come and they have prayer and they pray for people afterwards. So a healthy church is where everybody's empowered. I took a class years ago at the University of Delaware, and it was a class in Chinese history. And we were studying about how in one particular dynasty of China, there used to be this fashionable thing where women would have small feet. And for whatever reason, women with small feet were attractive and beautiful, and if you had big clodhoppers, you weren't so attractive. And so what the parents of these little girls, when their little girl would be born, they were so afraid that their little girl would have big feet and that she would be rejected because of her big feet, that they would wrap her feet up real tight. And that was called foot binding. And so they would wrap her feet up real tight and keep her toes in so she would theoretically have small feet. And so what happened is the parents were so obsessed with this that they kept wrapping the feet of these little girls, that the feet of these little girls became disformed and the little girls became crippled and they couldn't walk. And I remember sitting in class listening to that, and I was thinking about, that horrible thing of these little girls having their feet bound up. And it was almost like the Holy Spirit just kind of tapped me on the shoulder. And he says, for centuries, the church, the leaders of the church have tied up God's people, have wrapped them up tight, and it's just the preachers, and it's just the staff people that get to minister. And literally in church history, church leaders have crippled the church. And the church is not supposed to be a one person ministering, not supposed to be Pastor Danny or Pastor Joel or one of the staff members that are ministering, and we all come and watch and applaud how much they do. But a healthy church is where everybody rolls up their sleeves, they know what God's called them to do, and they serve the Lord with passion. So everybody say the word empowered. Empower is what we're about. We're about empowering people to serve. We want people in the parking lot greeting people when they come in. We want people, if it's a rainy day, kind of giving out umbrellas to people when they're walking in. We want our people at Bayshore to be empowered to serve. We feed the poor. We feed people that have needs in our community. We want everybody in our church. If you're in this first track class, we want you to know we believe God has got a plan for you to serve the Lord at Bayshore. And we're excited about partnering with you to do that. And so when God looks down on Bayshore, and he kind of looks down, I want him to see an anthill. We're all moving around, doing what God has called us to do. The next word is the word reach. And this word is simply conveys the idea that we are called by God to reach out to people that we go to school with, go to college with, that live in our neighborhoods, that we work with, and to invite them to a weekend service. Because remember, our commitment to excellence, all week long, we've been getting ready for you to bring your friend on Sunday. So that's a key word. We are not a ingrown church that's all about ourselves, but we're a church that's about the people that are outside of our church that we want to reach. And so let's fill these in. We believe that we can reach people who are far from God by inviting them to the experiences to experience each weekend at Bayshore, and by connecting people through Bayshore groups. So here's how we define success at Bayshore. We don't define success by us being faithful to come to church. And we stand there with our family. That's such a good thing to come to church. And we don't define success that way, though, about you coming to church consistently. That's important. But here's how we define success at Bayshore. We define success at Bayshore by you coming to church regularly and bringing somebody with you. That's how we celebrate success. And so that's important for us. And also, not simply by people coming to our big gatherings, but also coming to our Bayshore groups, which you'll hear a little bit more about in a bit. Page 6. Let's go to page 6. We want to talk a little bit about leadership at this point, and what Bayshore's leadership is about, and we want to talk about vision. There's a famous verse in the Old Testament says, in fact, it's Proverbs 29:18, where there is no vision, the people perish. So vision is, you can fill these in, seeing what God's dream for your future looks like. Seeing what God's dream for your future looks like. And we have a dream for Bayshore. When I came here 35 years ago, we had about 60 people in our church, and then we lost more than half of those people after a while when we began to try to design our services, not so much for church people, but for people that were outside of the church. And so I remember preaching to an empty building. And as I would preach that empty building, I would see in my heart, I would see in my mind's eye, I would see all of these people. Every Sunday when I'd preach, I would literally see people that weren't there, because there was a vision that God had put in my heart and a vision that God had put in the hearts of our leaders, that it wasn't going to just be us that were going to be a part of that building, but there were going to be people that were not yet there that were going to come. So seeing what God's dream is for the future. Literally, a vision is seeing in advance what God plans to do through you. Vision is seeing in advance what God plans to do through you. And number two, vision is what keeps us going when we encounter adversity. Any dream will be faced with adversity. If you have a dream, you have a vision, it can be for your company, it can be for your family, it can be for your finances, it can be any vision you have. Between the vision and the fulfillment of the vision is always adversity. And so what do you do when you have a dream, you have a vision, and you haven't had the fulfillment of that vision yet, and you're in adversity? You remember the dream, and the dream is what gets you through the time of adversity. Vision is reaching for a preferable future. Vision is reaching for a preferable future. And we believe that God has a preferable future for everybody that we are going to reach here at Bayshore. Vision, finally, is what keeps us alive. I believe that if we don't have vision, we eventually will just inside atrophy. We'll shrivel up, we'll lose our excitement, we'll lose our passion, because vision is what keeps us alive. And there's an interesting little Old Testament thing about Moses, and it's the end of, I think, Deuteronomy. It records Moses' death, and a little note about Moses when he died. It says in the old King James Version, which was what I grew up with, it says in the end of Deuteronomy, and I'm not even sure what verse it is, but it's at the end of Deuteronomy, and it says, when Moses died, his eyes were not dim. When Moses died, his eyes were not dim. In other words, he had vision all the way to the end of his life. Now, I want to have vision to the end of my life. I mean, I want to live a long time. How about you? I know a lot of you want to live a long time. I want to be an old geezer. I want to live a long time. But I never want to lose my vision. I want to have vision my whole life. And so when it says, when Moses died, his eyes were not dim. We have a vision at Bayshore. We have a vision for our Rehoboth campus. We have a vision for our Millsboro campus, and it's what keeps us alive. And we're so glad that you are a part of that vision. And here we're just gonna sort of wrap up a little bit of the details about how our church functions. And first, we're going to talk a little bit about what my role is as the lead pastor at Bayshore. As I mentioned, I've been at Bayshore for 36 years now. And what is my role? And so I want, as you come into this new experience at Bayshore, I want you to sort of understand what my role is, so you understand what my responsibility is as I serve you as the lead pastor. Lead pastor's role: first, to receive the vision for the church from the Lord. To receive the vision for the church from the Lord. We have many people that sort of make up and fill out the vision as we put it together. But my responsibility is to make sure that we have the vision that our church needs to have from the Lord. So that's my number one responsibility. Someone said that a manager, if he's cutting a road through a forest, that he's sort of into making sure the machetes are sharp and the axes are sharp and the chainsaws are sharp. That's what a manager does. But a leader shimmies up a tree to make sure they're cutting down the road in the right forest. And my job is to make sure that we're on the right track and that we're headed where God wants us to head. And so a big part of my responsibility is, as I spend time with the Lord, as I walk and pray, as I'm constantly asking the Lord, help us to make sure that we're true to the vision that you have for us. And so my responsibility is to give vision and receive vision from the Lord. And number two, my job is to cast or communicate the vision to the church. So my job is once a year or throughout the messages throughout the year to constantly be talking about the vision of our church, what our vision is about. Our vision is about reaching other people. Our vision is about relationships, getting people in relationships so they can grow spiritually. And so I want to communicate that, and that's part of my responsibility. Number 3, my job is to eliminate activities that do not contribute to the vision of the church. A lot of times people will come to me and say, well, Pastor Danny, how about if we do this? Or how about if we do that? And boy, we're always open for input from people, and we love to hear people's ideas. But we always have to take every idea, and we have to say, does this idea fulfill the vision of the church? Does it help us to fulfill the vision of the church? And so my job is to eliminate activities that don't contribute to the vision of the church. And this is very important, number 4. My job is to build a team of leaders that understand the vision of the church and help to implement it. Maybe you came from a small church, or you grew up in a small church where there wasn't a team environment. One of the things that's important for you to understand at Bayshore is that we have a team environment. We believe that that we need to have many people that are leading toward the common goal and the common vision that we have. And so one of the things we always say about staff people at our church is that we hire racehorses and we let them run. We show them where the target is, and we let people move out and take initiative. And so we believe in leadership. We believe in releasing leadership. We believe in team. Leadership and accountability. This is an important part. Maybe you want to understand sort of how does our church governmentally function. This is an important part for you if you're interested in that. First of all, we have a board of directors that oversees all of the finances of Bayshore. And they oversee and approve the yearly budget. So our lead pastor, myself, is accountable to the board of directors for adhering to and implementing the budget. So we have, when it comes to finances in our church, as I mentioned earlier, we try to do everything with excellence, including our finances. And we have on our board of directors, we have people from all walks of life. We have business leaders. We have people that administrate companies. We have CPAs. We have bankers. We have farmers. We have a really solid group of people that help oversee the finances of Bayshore. And so that's done every year. We run by a budget, and we have quarterly meetings with our board of directors. Real quickly, just let me mention our financial integrity. Financial integrity, requisition forms are filled out for all expenditures. Our church has various departments that do things in our church, and every department has a budget, and they have to fill out requisition forms in order for their budget item to be approved, or for them to be able to spend money, basically. Two signatures are required on all checks. We have no one person can sign a check at Bayshore. It has to be signed by 2 people that are on the board of directors or in leadership at our church. Next, page number 8. We have some key terms there. And on these key terms, your facilitator is going to go over these key terms with you and talk to you a little bit about that. And one of the key terms is the word partnership. Maybe you came to this class thinking it's about membership, that you're going to become a member at the end of this, like a Sam's Club member or a BJ member. We have a little different terminology here. We're not using the term membership. We're using the word partnership. And here's what a partner is. We believe that Bayshore Community Church partners are vital to the team. They aren't concerned with their rights as much as they are their responsibility. These are the people who are committed to seeing those far from God come to know Him. And if you'll switch over to page number 9, and let's talk about why partnership. You're not becoming a member, you're becoming a partner. And a partner means we link arms together, and we serve our community, and we serve our church. Just recently I heard about a group of people that saved, it was down in Panama City, Florida. A group of people helped save a family that was caught in a riptide. And interesting story. 2 little boys got pulled out by the riptide. Then the mother tried to save, then got pulled out to the riptide. And then after that, several other family members. So you got a whole family that's sort of caught in this riptide. And the people on the beach came up with this idea. They made a human chain. They locked their arms together. They had several people on the beach, and they locked their arms together. And 80 people locked their arms together, and they got out to where they were in the riptide, and they were able to get a hold of them and pull them into safety. Wonderful, wonderful story about partnership. So what we do here at Bayshore is when you come and you become a partner at Bayshore, you're really locking arms with the lead pastor, you're locking arms with the staff, and you're locking arms so we together can reach people that are far from God. Let's talk about this real quickly. Why partner? Number one, a biblical reason. Christ is committed to the church, and Christ loved the church and gave himself up for it. One of the reasons that we are partners is that Christ is committed to the church. He died for the church. He believes in the church. And so when we come to the church, as Bill Hybels so eloquently said, the local church is the hope of the world. And that's what we believe. We believe in the church being the hope of the world. And so we want to partner together with the church. We want to partner together with Jesus because Jesus is committed to the church. He says the gates of hell will not prevail against the church. Number two, why we partner, a cultural reason. It's an answer to our society. In our society, people sort of, they just try things for a while and then they try something else for a while. They may join the gym for a while and then quit, and they're not very committed to things that they get involved with. We want our church to be have a partnership mentality where we're committed to the vision, we're committed to our mission, and we do it together, and we're not sort of like here today and gone tomorrow kind of thing, and we're very, very committed to being committed to that. Number three, practical reasons. Number three, why we partner. A practical reason, it defines who can be counted on. It defines who can be counted on. We use this thing at our church called Planning Center, and people that volunteer on the weekends. We have 80 to 90 people every weekend that volunteer, and so we send emails and notes out to them during the week, and they check on the Planning Center, and they say, hey, we're going to be there on Sunday. We're going to be serving this Sunday, and they're committed to that. And that's one of the reasons we do that, because it defines who can be counted on. The worst thing that can happen to a person that comes to church is they come and they sit in the back for months and even years, and they never really partner with the church. You know what happens to people like that? Unfortunately, they begin eventually to feel disconnected from the church. And they say, well, something's wrong with this church. And in reality, what they're feeling is they don't feel connected because they've never really become a partner. And so when you're a partner, you're part of something, it really makes an incredible difference in how you feel about your church. Number four, a personal reason. It produces spiritual growth. It produces spiritual growth. And that's important because you only grow when you serve. And that's an important part of this. I'm not sure, did I do number three? Maybe I didn't do number three. If I did do number three, here it comes again. Number three, a practical reason, it defines who can be counted on. I just did that. Number four, a personal reason, it produces spiritual growth. It's only when we exercise our faith muscles, it's only when we serve that we begin to grow spiritually. So you can read a little more about partnership under that on page 9, and also on page 10. You'll see some things that how partnership works. The partnership agreement works by attracting, connecting, empowering, and reaching. And if you go to page number 11, you'll see the Bayshore Community Church Partnership Agreement. And this is where, as you become a partner of the church, there's certain things that you want to begin to grow in your faith in. Now, let me just say something real important about this thing that's on this list. This talks about us making progress with things that we struggle with in our life. Now, let me let you hear this. Very, very important. There's no partner at Bayshore that's perfect. There's no partner, nor is there any staff person that's perfect, nor is there a lead pastor that's perfect. So when we read these things, we're reading about things that we want to grow in. So we want to live for Christ and be a good example for Christ as a partner in the church, and things that we struggle with, we want to work toward. But remember, this is all in the context of partnership and in the context of progress. So we want to make sure that you read over that and say, hey, these are the things I want to begin to get victory over. I want the Lord to help me in these things. And at the end of this session, your facilitator will be glad to pray with you.